This is the CBS Evening News. I'm Charles Kuralt, sitting in tonight for Dan Rather. Good evening. The Republican presidential team was off and running today, but right at the start, the controversy over Dan Quayle got in the way. Quayle himself referred to it offhandedly this morning. Later, he and George Bush appeared in Quayle's hometown, and the flap over whether Dan Quayle tried to duck Vietnam combat duty really erupted. Eric Engberg reports.
The Bush-Quayle team set out from New Orleans together, still sending confusing signals over how to answer questions about Quayle's military record. Quayle at first seemed to be trying humor.
I stand at attention. Name, Dan Quayle. Rank, Sergeant. Serial number, 303-504096. Indiana National Guard, 6 years and proud of it.
But as the campaign rolled into Quayle's hometown of Huntington, Indiana, Bush strategists hatched a plan. Campaign officials did not want Quayle to address these issues in the seething media hotbed of New Orleans. They wanted someplace friendlier, and they found one. Several thousand people stood outside the courthouse in the small town where the Quayles own the newspaper. When the speeches were over, Quayle moved to the press area for an extraordinary news conference, with a hometown crowd playing supportive Greek chorus to their hero under trial by media.
I don't believe being a member of the Indiana National Guard and serving your country has any disrespect for your ticket. As a matter of fact, I am darn proud of it.
Bush aides appeared pleased, and a reporter muttered, "We've been had," as the crowd cheered Quayle. The candidate, who said he was for the Vietnam War, told how he had sought help from a family employee influential in National Guard affairs in obtaining a Guard assignment during the war.
You call home. I talked to my mother and my father, and I said, I am interested in getting into the Indiana National Guard. We communicated that to Mr. Philippi. You'll have to ask Mr. Philippi what calls were made. I did not ask him to make any calls. I told him I was interested in getting in the Indiana National Guard.
Campaign officials were divided over whether this had been a good start to the campaign. But there was no doubt it was an unusual start. George Bush had been upstaged by the problems of his running mate on his first day on the road. Eric Engberg, CBS News, Huntington, Indiana.
The Quayle controversy dimmed the final night of the Republican National Convention. Even so, George Bush's acceptance speech won high marks. Bruce Morton looks back at last night in New Orleans.
New Orleans sent the delegates home with a song, and in a sense, George Bush did too.
He did what we wanted him to do. He came through and he spoke to the issues that we as the Republican Party believe in.
Today, as they wheeled away the grand piano and swept up the confetti, political professionals noted that Bush had stuck closely to the Reagan line on economics, no new taxes, and on social issues like school prayer and the death penalty. But he added a new note.
Where is it written that we must act if we do not care, as if we're not moved? Well, I am moved. I want a kinder and gentler nation.
He spoke about the need for compassion. He indicated that he had no fear or dislike for government. It seemed to me he was signaling that at least a part of Ronald Reagan's approach was not going to be George Bush's approach.
I was amazed that he talked about issues that we have been begging this administration to pay attention to: acid rain, clean water.
And he conveyed a sense of who he was to voters who may have been unsure of that.
I'm a quiet man, but I hear the quiet people, others don't. And I am moved, and their concerns are mine.
He may have convinced them, I think he did convince them, that I'm my own man, and I do believe these things.
But the success of the speech, of course, was diluted because it had to share the spotlight with the continuing controversy over Bush's running mate, Senator Quayle.
Well, I think it was kind of interesting. Great speech, bad week.
I think the speech itself probably stopped the ticket from pretty much of a free fall in people's mind.
The decision to pick Dan Quayle overshadowed the speech. And so the speech didn't get done what he needed to have done.
Democratic and Republican professionals agree the speech was a plus, but less of a plus than it would have been without the Quayle furor. It was the one positive note in a balky convention, and it came as polls show Bush and Dukakis in pretty much of a dead heat. Bruce Morton, CBS News, New Orleans.
Well, whistle stopping through the small towns worked for Harry Truman 40 years ago. Today, Michael Dukakis tried it, and Bill Whitaker went along.
Michael Dukakis hopped a train through middle America today, blowing the whistle on what he saw as the rosy, backward-looking portrait of America painted by Republicans in New Orleans this week.
While the Vice President and the Republicans took a trip down memory lane last night, we're looking to the future.
Dukakis started the trip in the Democratic stronghold of Belleville, Illinois, where he again threw darts at George Bush's running mate, Dan Quayle.
Nobody has ever questioned the qualifications of Lloyd Bentsen to be the Vice President or the President of the United States.
It was the Dukakis Heartland Express, past the farms and factories along the Mississippi in Illinois, Missouri, and Arkansas, through a depressed region Dukakis says has been left out of Reagan's America. Dukakis clearly hopes the economic anxiety felt by people here in Bismarck, Missouri, is more reflective of the national mood than the hold-the-course optimism stressed by Bush. In this tiny town, right out of the pages of Mark Twain, Dukakis stressed jobs, and using a new campaign refrain, lit into Republicans for what they didn't say in New Orleans, about the economy, about the deficit, about ethics.
A scandal in the Pentagon that will have a devastating effect on our national defense and our national security. What do we hear from the Republicans in New Orleans? Not one word.
Both parties now have laid out their visions for the nation. Republicans say Dukakis is preaching the gospel of doom and gloom. Dukakis is betting the election his vision of America will win the most converts. Bill Whitaker, CBS News, Bismarck, Missouri.
The Pentagon concluded today that the captain of the USS Vincennes, who ordered missiles fired that destroyed an Iranian airliner, acted prudently based on the information he had at the time. Some of the information, however, was wrong. 290 civilians were killed by the U.S. warship's mistake. Defense Department correspondent David Martin has the story.
The investigation into the downing of the Iran Airbus uncovered a series of mistakes made by the crew of the USS Vincennes, but concluded no one should be punished for errors committed in the heat of combat.
The main recommendation of the investigation was that no disciplinary action should be taken against any U.S. naval personnel associated with this incident.
Misreading the data picked up by state-of-the-art electronic equipment, the crew mistakenly reported that the Iran Airbus was emitting an electronic signal identifying itself as an F-14 jet fighter. In fact, it was sending out a signal used by commercial aircraft. The crew also mistakenly reported that the plane was descending toward the ship, when in fact it was climbing to cruising altitude. It was a performance that seemed to betray the confidence Captain Will Rogers had earlier expressed in his crew.
I feel quite confident in the capabilities of Vincennes, and certainly quite confident in the capabilities of my people to react in a timely fashion and to bring the ship systems to bear on any threat that may exist.
The investigation recommended more study into the effects of combat on men operating high-tech equipment. The Vincennes was in the midst of a surface battle with Iranian speedboats. The ship was in a high-speed turn. The crew could hear bullets ricocheting off the hull. Men were shouting. It all happened in just 7 minutes.
The question is whether the mistakes were critical and whether they were due to culpability or negligence, and the finding is that they were not.
The crew was right about one thing. An airplane was headed directly toward them, failing to respond to repeated radio warnings. For that, the Pentagon said, Iran has only itself to blame.
It is certainly negligent for a country to start a firefight and then allow a civilian aircraft to go directly into that firefight.
The investigation criticized but did not punish one officer who relayed the crew's reports to Captain Rogers without first checking to see if they were accurate. When questioned by investigators, the officer said, quote, "I had no reason to doubt them. I had to make a split-second recommendation to the commanding officer, and I did." David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
The people killed on the Iranian airliner were among hundreds of thousands of casualties in the Gulf War. A truce in that war is set for just hours from now. When we return, we'll have the view from both sides. And we'll take a summertime ride with Bob McNamara along the shortest, steepest route from one place to another in Dubuque, Iowa, or probably anywhere else.
fell off my 10-speed and ended up in the hospital. I never gave much thought to pain relievers. The hospital gave me Tylenol. It stopped the pain without irritating my stomach, like aspirin can, and it really made me think. Ever since that day, I've been a lot more careful about medicine. What do I trust now? Just one thing, Tylenol.
Trust Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
You've always trusted Woolite to care for your fine sweaters. Wouldn't you love to get that same Woolite care for your rugs and for your chairs? Well, here's how. Woolite Deep Cleaning Rug Cleaner works so well, it removes even stubborn dirt. And for chairs, Woolite Upholstery Cleaner foams away dirt safely and beautifully. Get your rugs and upholstery Woolite clean with Woolite Rug Cleaners and Upholstery Cleaner. Trust Woolite care for rugs and chairs.
Now for indigestion, gas. Introducing new Extra Strength Malox Plus. It neutralizes more than any leading antacid and dissolves gas. Nobody does as much as new Extra Strength Malox Plus. In Ricky Rudd's high-torque V8, clean-running Quaker Safe with QSX provides unbeatable protection from wear and tear.
And the oil that protects my car on the track is the same oil you buy right off the shelf.
The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
A ceasefire that could permanently end the long and atrocity-filled war in the Persian Gulf takes effect within hours if all goes according to plan. United Nations soldiers are in position on both sides of the border. Doug Tennell in Baghdad has our first report.
2 mammoth U.S. Air Force transport planes arrived in Baghdad today, loaded with Canadian troops who will help monitor the truce. More U.S. flights are scheduled for the coming days as part of America's stake in peace here.
There's a lot of rush to preparations for the ceasefire here in Baghdad today, and a little bit of tension, too, as if all of Iraq were holding its breath. This is, after all, the first serious attempt at a truce since the Gulf War began, and a lot of people here are hoping it will be the last. In the meantime, the Iraqi government is calling it a victory.
But in 8 years, Iraq has yet to accomplish a single long-term objective that sent those first Iraqi troops deep into Iran. Baghdad also badly miscalculated the popular appeal of Tehran's call to arms in defense of the homeland. And this was the result. A country with a population smaller than Texas has lost 5 times more men in battle than America did in Vietnam. As Iraqi strongman Saddam Hussein looks to the future, some American diplomats consider him a promising new candidate for the leadership of the Arab world and beyond. Saddam has made no secret of his desire to be seen as an enlightened world leader, but the war has exposed some different images of his regime. Iraq used gas on a whole community of Iraqi Kurds, men, women, and children, who were suspected of siding with the enemy. From the mountains of Kurdistan to the marshes of the Tigris River Delta, Iraq has become a killing ground for 8 long years. The celebrations here have been not so much for victory as for the prospect that tonight, peace may be only a few hours away. Doug Tennell, CBS News, Baghdad.
200 UN observers fanned out along the Iranian side of the ceasefire line tonight, a token force to monitor a front along which hundreds of thousands died. As they took up positions, Iran's acting armed forces commander told the nation it is facing 2 paths, war and peace. Iran is not sure about Iraq's intentions, he said, but we chose peace. The first signs of peace are the diplomats and businessmen who are flocking to Iran, lured by what they believe will be the rich pickings of peace.
I would guess over the next 5 to 8 years, in the region of, what, $200 to $250 billion?
Reconstruction of Iran's shattered economy will be a bonanza for foreigners who win contracts. The Italians, Australians, and Chinese are already there looking over these prospects. The Japanese foreign minister arrives tomorrow. To pay for reconstruction, Iran will have to rebuild its war-damaged oil industry. As output increases, the world price of oil may fall at first, but experts believe Iran and Iraq will soon cooperate with OPEC to push up the price.
As we get to the end of the year, it'll more than make up for that fall and probably rise $1 or $2 above it.
The political fallout of peace is harder to predict, but most experts see a post-war Iran as less of a threat less intent on exporting its revolution.
The Iranian regime realized it cannot remake the region in its own image. It can't defeat Iraq. It can't push the Arab states over the brink. And I think the Iranian revolution itself has realized the limits of the world.
All of this could improve prospects for the Western hostages held by Iran's friends in Lebanon. They're an asset the Iranians have been trading on for years. Now that Iran is trying to look respectable in the eyes of the world, the hostages are beginning to look like a liability. Tom Fenton, CBS News, London.
Final preparations are being made in Pakistan for the state funeral tomorrow of President Zia. He'll be buried in Islamabad in a grave dug in the lawn of the world's biggest mosque. Zia, U.S. Ambassador Arnold Rafel, and 28 others were killed Wednesday when Zia's military plane mysteriously exploded. Secretary of State George Shultz arrived in Pakistan tonight, accompanied by the newly designated U.S. Ambassador Robert Oakley. The United States was one of Zia's strongest supporters. A U.S.-educated lawyer, Maung Maung, was chosen today to be Burma's first civilian leader in 26 years. Right away, he proposed political and economic reforms, but student protest leaders branded him a puppet of the military and called for a nationwide strike on Monday. There are reports today of widespread tribal bloodshed in the small African country of Burundi. Diplomats and others say thousands have been killed in fighting this week between the majority tribe and a smaller tribe that controls the government and army. Lech Walesa said today that shipyard workers in Gdansk will join thousands of other Polish strikers unless the Solidarity movement is legalized by Monday. Workers at 6 more coal mines walked out today. 13,000 workers are now on strike in Poland's worst labor unrest since Solidarity was founded in Gdansk 8 years ago this week.
To see how a bathroom gets this shiny clean, you have to go back to the beginning. To fresh-scented Lysol Basin Tub and Tile Cleaner. Lysol has the power to cut through dirt and soap scum, and it disinfects. Try Fresh Scent Lysol. It's how the shiniest bathrooms get their start.
I confess, I can't stop. I just can't stop. It smells so good, I just can't stop spraying.
Lysol Fresh Scent. Smells as good as it works.
Red Lobster asks,
are you ready to feast?
Ready for crab legs, fried shrimp, and a lobster tail on one plate? That's the ultimate feast.
Are you ready to feast?
Ready for shrimp? 29 succulent shrimp done 4 delicious ways? Then try our great shrimp feast.
And if you're ready to feast, you're in a Red Lobster mood. We know how you love seafood.
Now, Tuesday and Wednesday only, try our shrimp and steak special, just $9.95.
Oh, look at me back in the 60s, working up a sweat. Oh, and that's how I used to pump iron. Not today. Today we're exercising more and eating less red meat. But red meat is a great source of iron.
Only Kellogg's Bran Flakes has high fiber and 100% of the iron recommended today.
So now I pump a little iron outside and inside. You know, I haven't felt this good since I burned that bathing suit.
Kellogg's Bran Flakes.
Technicians worked today to clear one last hurdle in the way of launching the nation's first space shuttle in 2.5 years. Technicians sealed a fuel leak a day after the Discovery's booster rocket was fired in its 5th and final test. The firing was successful, apparently. Now, if repair of the fuel leak holds up, a firm launch date can be set. No U.S. space shuttle has been launched since the Challenger disaster in January 1986. In the mountains outside Helena, Montana, a fire that burned through the night quadrupled in size today to 20,000 acres. Authorities said the fires burned 10 houses and summer cabins and forced more than 50 people from their homes. They say they don't know when that fire might be contained. It'll take nature centuries to replace forests burned over these fierce summers of the 80s. In California, John Blackstone reports, human beings are trying to speed nature's process along.
A hunt is going on in the forests of California that may be a matter of survival. Forest Service gunmen are hunting for cones, the seeds of the ponderosa pine. The hunter's job is to make sure the cones are ripe, ready for picking.
It's just like peaches or anything else. People don't realize that, but cones are about the same way. We got to jump right on there.
When the cones are ripe, the pickers go up. The seeds of California's ponderosa pine have become rare and valuable. Most of the seed trees were wiped out last summer in California's worst forest fire season ever. In the Stanislaus National Forest beside Yosemite Park, 140,000 acres were burned over, 7 times larger than any previous fire there. The Forest Service keeps a seed bank, but was unprepared for a disaster of this scale.
We're talking about planting 2.5 to maybe 3.5 million trees per year once we get underway.
For the first time ever, the Forest Service is asking private landowners to help.
Sure. And right now you just want to spot some trees, mark them? Is that what you want to do?
Tree spotters are traveling through the California foothills looking for healthy pines to collect their cones.
And I contacted them. I saw some good cones, and I thought, well, let's get together and see if they can't use some of these cones.
Putting the fires out last summer was just the beginning of dealing with their impact on the forest. Loggers are busy taking out what wasn't burned up. The fires killed millions of trees, but many remain valuable if harvested before they begin to rot.
We have what we call a brain-dead tree. The tree is in the process of dying.
Nature would regenerate what it destroyed without human help, but that could take 400 or 500 years. These efforts should restore the forest in a relatively short 100 years. John Blackstone, CBS News, in the Stanislaus National Forest.
The death of British choreographer Sir Frederick Ashton was announced today in London. He was 83. Frederick Ashton created more than 100 ballets. He was instrumental in the rise to stardom of ballerina Margot Fonteyn.
Priced an imported car lately, you could be in for import sticker shock. Or a pleasant surprise at your Buick dealer, Buick Century. It's actually priced under smaller imports like Toyota Camry Deluxe and Honda Accord DX. It's loaded with standard features, like room for 6, stereo, even a real trunk. That's more car for the money. That's the value of the Century.
Save up to $1,300 on Buick Century Custom Sedan.
Are you getting more than you want out of your high-fiber cereal? Like sodium and added sugar? If what you want out of your high-fiber cereal is high fiber, you should be eating Fiber One. You get more fiber with Fiber One, and Fiber One is low in sodium and has absolutely no added sugar. So get more of the fiber your body needs and less of the stuff it doesn't. Get Fiber One.
It's out there again, waiting. Allergy season. But allergies don't have to be a big problem. Not with fast-acting Benadryl, the most prescribed allergy medication ever.
I've got big news for prune lovers who also love cereal. Actually, it's kind of small news when you look at it. It's Sunsweet bite-sized pitted prunes. Try them on your cereal, and you'll agree Sunsweet bite-size is just the right size.
Dubuque is the oldest town in Iowa, founded in 1788 by Jean Dubuque, who settled there to mine lead. Dubuque is located on bluffs above the Mississippi, offering a spectacular view and offering also a ride, unlike any other you've ever taken. So Bob McNamara learned in summertime.
Loaded and launched, today's elevators are like taxis in the space stations of tomorrow. They're glitzy and quick, but none of them the fun of the one climbing into its 106th year in Dubuque, Iowa.
Ollie, this is the scariest part right here.
It's been called a chicken-hearted's thrill ride, a poor man's San Francisco. But the Fenelon Place elevator has hummed up and down a Dubuque bluff since a banker first built it to go home for lunch and a noontime nap.
You rode the shortest and steepest cable car in the world.
Is it really?
Absolutely. We're 106 years old.
The shortest and steepest is 296 feet of track rising 189 feet above Dubuque's downtown. And what tickles operator Bob Fish is when the riders reach the top and pay their fare.
Some of them get off and they say, "Woo! Look at that scenery."
Boy, you can see for miles.
I think I missed a lot by not coming up here once. Mine might have even died and I never ever got up here, huh?
No kidding.
You never ever know.
Pulled by cables, one car goes up as the other goes down. Just enough space for both to pass halfway on the hill. But what worries many is whether the cables will hold.
I keep thinking if you stop that sucker'd break, you'd be in the river before she'd stop.
I did not always enjoy riding that elevator because I don't like heights that much, and it was jerking on the way up.
But thousands of others love it, don't forget it, and come back for special times.
By the authority vested in me, I therefore pronounce you husband and wife. They kiss the bride.
The Jonesons starting their marriage here the same day the Finch's marriage began its 55th year. Marriage like an elevator.
You start at the bottom and you go to the top.
Yeah, you have to work together and to make progress. Climb the ladder of life.
But few seem to get as much of a kick from this as Bob Fish, elevator operator, retired packing house worker, a man still with ham in his heart.
The cable car reminds me of going fishing. When I throw, the car goes down, I don't know what I've got down at the bottom until I get up here.
At a time when we seem obsessed with getting to the top fast, the Fenelon Place elevator is a pokey 2-minute ride. But if there's a lesson here, it's probably patience. The old car's never failing yet to climb to the top. Bob McNamara, CBS News, Dubuque, Iowa.
I'm Charles Kuralt, sitting in for Dan Rather. Good night.
Suddenly Salad proposes 3 exciting new leisure activities. Pasta Primavera with broccoli.
Love those brand new pasta salad flavors.
Ranch and bacon.
Leisure activities I can savor.
And Caesar with croutons.
Suddenly Salad.
With tasty extras like real bacon, Parmesan cheese, and crunchy croutons. 3 delicious new leisure activities.
Suddenly Salad.
Live high.
After flying so many aircraft, I'm not easily impressed with car performance. Then I drove the Cutlass Supreme pace car at the Indy 500. I was impressed.
In USAC tests, Cutlass Supreme out-cornered the BMW 325 and brake better than the Ford Thunderbird LX. And the Cutlass Supreme costs a whole lot less. So I got 3 of them. Hey, I got 2 kids, boys.
And now Oldsmobile will buy the air conditioning for you when you buy a 1988 Cutlass Supreme by September 28th.
I just got dentures, but it hasn't slowed me down.
Start to be the 45, want to hear 45, 45.
Fix-It and forget it. Fix-It and fix loose spots for a strong hold that lasts longer than any leading cream.
2, I hear 25, want to hear 25, 25.
Use Fix-It and forget it.
I've written a sort of educational graffiti with Old English oil. It moisturizes to help prevent drying and cracking, brings out wood's natural beauty in the glorious manner that befits my glorious manner. Old English helps prevent drying and cracking.
Help fight muscular dystrophy.